in case y'all were. That thing on the right there, that big pad. I kicked that once and that was enough for me. I vibrated all the way up, all the way through my body. And then Sherman Harrell said, "Did you ever kick that?" And I said, "Yeah, once." He said, "Me too, once."
There's old Heffernan there.
That's Paul Heffernan. And I did that sign there. You can see I don't know how to draw women that well.
Yeah, those are Jake Eckenrode's photos there, these last two.
This guy Keohao on the right-hand side, he got killed in Vietnam. I wish he'd have stood. He had a knuckle that looked like one knuckle looked like two, or two knuckles that looked like one. But
yeah,
there's Sensei climbing down the telephone pole.
Yeah, there's Kikuyama.
Yeah, Kikiyama. Yeah. I don't know which camp. I think this is an army base where Sensei did this demonstration. I didn't go to that one. That's Shinsho, Sensei's youngest.
Eckenrode.
Yeah.
That's Keohao.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And there's the famous picture that I should have copyrighted. Eventually with a lot of hair.
Yeah.
There, that was the corner store where we buy whatever, alcohol or whatever. And that was the dojo in 1970 after the roof was put on.
Original dojo was just concrete block walls with a concrete floor.
Pictures.
Yeah.
If y'all excuse me, I'm going to see if I can slow this down at all.
Okay.
Not sure.
There's Armstrong and Sensei. Look how big Armstrong was compared to Sensei. Gee.
A little over a foot taller.
Is that any slower?
What's that?
Are the pictures going slower now?
Yeah. No, not really.
Yeah, you got it. It is slower now. Good job.
That was my first child.
Mhm. There's Blonde.
That's Blonde, William Blonde.
Is that from your set of pictures, Sensei?
Yeah, these are my pictures, yeah.
I don't know that I've seen that one before. Bill might like to have a copy of that one.
Well, Mr. Davis digitized all these.
I see.
If you know exactly what you want, we can probably send you a digital copy.
They used to armor up and fight, full contact.
Uh-huh.
A lot of these are Jake Eckenrode's photos, and some of you may not realize that I'm the one that found Mr. Eckenrode back in 2007, and he got all his pictures on Wayne Wayland's website soon thereafter. So it's kind of nice that they all got there and people could see them, because nobody had seen them in like 50.
That was Tommy Teneman.
Okay.
You've been around him, you may, about me, you know stories about him. And that was
He's wanted to talk about him. I think
there's Roy Kerber when he was young and skinny.
Bob Christensen.
When he was young.
Young and skinny. That was in 2001 there at the Shreveport Bossier tournament.
That's Sherman Harrell. That was me when I was a brig guard.
And
I don't know, I've seen that one, Sensei, or these ones here with you as a brig guard.
That's Heffernan when he first started. This is a guy that ran space from Sensei to have, he had weights there. That was in a joyful mood right there. Yeah, I was kind of skinny myself. And there's a tank that I did so that somebody could use it at an NCO school. And I did that T-shirt. And that was me sparring one of my students.
Who is that?
That was Greg Spencer.
Is that Greg?
Greg Spencer, yeah.
He with my long hair.
I was gonna ask who that was.
Yeah, that was when I was about 21 years old.
There's-
20,
In
22.
your hippie days?
That was inside Unge's house. That's Cleophas Burke. He went by Stony Burke. He was a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. And
Tom Lewis and Wayne Whalen there.
that's
Clay
one of
Wonder
them,
Troop and
Dr. Shoup. And there's Tokamura. And this was in Taiwan when we were in Taiwan. That was some Chinese Marines.
There we go.
Let's see if I can slow this. Trying to slow it down a little more. That didn't work.
Was Ronnie's not in this, is he? In this group today?
Yes, sir. He's there.
Oh.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Well, how you doing, Sensei Ronnie?
Doing good. Trying
Good.
to behave.
There you are, kissing that dragon.
You know, Ronnie's dragon crazy, you know, so.
Oh, yeah.
But the dragons will get even with him sometime.
Yeah. Well, they got one where he's biting his arm off in there.
This is what, he got Island? This,
Yeah, some of them.
this is where the first patch was made, right there.
The one that says embroidery?
Right.
Pottery.
That was my ex-brother-in-law and my half-sister.
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah. That was me in the backyard.
after or before you
I
kicked him
used
too
to
hard?
teach in the backyard and wore all the grass off. That was my dad and my half-sister and me. This was one of the monkeys that I had a big fight with in India. And that was Heffernan that took me around Camp Pendleton. They had some Russian tanks. And this was me dancing with the Okinawa or Japanese women.
Is that here in town?
Yeah, here in town at the Japanese festival. We used to wear those starburst checkered gi tops. If you went to tournaments, we'd wear those.
yeah, I got my black belt.
This is me with my.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is
I-
Armstrong's dojo up in Tacoma.
hmm.
And that's Lindy Belt.
Lindy.
Yeah. Lindy, and that's over here in 85 at the Southeast Botanical Gardens.
This was when I in tanks, I was taking a picture. That if the tank broke down, that would pull you in.
And Sensei.
And I don't know. Both
Ronnie
these,
and Lindy.
both these look like they've been run over with. You run over by a car or something. That was Cass Cox. This is Tommy Tinneman when he made Shodan. And that's Joe Greenslade when he made Shodan. That was me in India watching the sunrise over Goom Monastery. And that's David
Yeah.
King, his wife, and Miss Betts, Sherman Harrell. And that's Greenslade and I forget the other guy's name. I didn't know we had so many pictures. Y'all had so many pictures.
Oh, there's tons, Sensei.
There's tons.
Well, that would look like a picture of old Dave from the old class, Sensei, the orange belt.
Yeah.
Now, since some of them were double pictures, you had them twice.
Yeah, well, that was a tomb, a typical tomb in Okinawa.
Have at it. Have at it.
No, it was just double body was.
Well, that was, and I don't remember seeing that picture before. This is at a belt test.
Look at that.
And there's Heffernan and a guy named, what was his name? And that was hunting rabbits at Camp Pendleton with a bow and arrow. And that's Heffernan. And
More rabbits. Kill the rabbits.
shoot, right, and that, oh, Jesus, that's me as a kid.
Laurie, well, you missed one, Laurie.
Hey, where'd you get that one? Anyway, this is in the Philippines. Now, didn't go to the Philippines, but they gave me pictures.
Tex.
When they were in the, that's Heffernan and some of the guys in our tanks. But anyway, there's Heffernan with a black eye.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looked like he had a black eye.
Eyes. And that's when we were brig guards. It's Heffernan again.
Is that Barty in there too?
Do what?
Was that one that looked like Barty beside Heffernan in that other picture?
Yeah.
So is there a story about you borrowing somebody's Jeep?
About
That was
what?
Borrowing a Jeep, sir.
Oh, yeah, that's the story. That was Heffernan. He's the one that borrowed the chaplain's Jeep. He and three others went to town in the middle of the day. And anyway, and it's a wonder he didn't get caught because they ran a truckload of MPs off the road on a one-lane bridge. And so he went to the whorehouse in the middle of the day with the other guys and told me about it. Now there's Millage Murphy.
Now, does everyone know the story of him and the tank down in Cuba?
And the what?
The tank down in Cuba.
No, when a Heffernan told, we've kept in touch over the years, and he was telling me he got sent down to Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, and while he was there, he had him a Cuban girlfriend. He would sneak out. He had found a place in the fence where he could slide out of there, and he changed clothes and looked like a Cuban. I mean, he was planning to take his tank and start World War III. He was going to drive right through the main gate and start World War III, invading Cuba. And his co-conspirator was a CIA agent, and so was the colonel. And they just shipped him out of there and said, and asked him where he wanted to go, and he said he wanted to go back to Okinawa. So they sent him back to Okinawa. But anyway, he was a loose cannon, that's for sure.
I can sit there and do it, man.
So it's better a chaplain's Jeep on vacation than a tank in Cuba.
Yeah. He was something. Oh, there's all kinds of stories about Heffernan. He thinks they're funny, but I didn't think they were so funny. He should have been in prison.
Adventurer tells me stories like that where I think, or yeah, there's some strange stories.
No. We went to Okinawa and Tokamura said, come back, and he put all the day on the calendar. And by the way, that's Bartashevitz on the right. And then, of course, and that was at in Fredericksburg, Virginia. That's Jake Ecker.
Thing was in June, I believe, of 08, not April. because I had just gotten orders to Okinawa and I was going to have to cancel going to that event.
Well, they're trying to get me drunk now.
All right, folks, I don't know if you have anything to drink there with you.
I do.
And who just, oh, look, that's Mr. Levitt's there. Good.
I'm ready.
If anybody else wants to grab something and toast Sensei happy birthday, we're good to go here.
With water.
I'll go
Yeah, I
first.
got my water.
All right, Courtney.
Anything you got. So I'll go first. Sensei, it's a privilege to know you and to study with
Thank
you.
you.
And happy birthday, many returns of the day.
Thank you. Kampai.
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 Had to give him a salute.
That'll take paint off.
Me again, and then that poor old sign that I made.
I'm going to move over to my laptop and see if I can slow this down by going manually.
Now, this is the
Make
letter.
karate too much good.
This is a letter when Sensei, I went to Okinawa and Sensei offered me a promotion and a certificate all in Japanese from the All Okinawan Karate Association. And I turned them both down because Kichiro was saying all the time, good relations with Okinawa, all the time, 8th degree, 9th degree, 10th degree, no sweat. And I thought, what's he mean by good relations? And he says, all the time, send money to Okinawa, all the time, good relations. And I thought, I'm buying my rank. So I just turned everything down. And then since then, I have regretted that because he was going to give me a teaching certificate and plus another promotion. But anyway, so I didn't get it.
Well, you could have had 6th, 7th, or 8th degree for $30.
Yeah, for $20 I could have been 8th degree, and then for $35 a kyoshi.
Well,
This is Kiaha over here, all right, punching the tile, and this is the first time we saw Sensei with a red and white belt on. Of course, in those days, and then of course Armstrong's on the right over here in the judo thing. I think maybe Armstrong's better at judo than.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Y'all know the story. You know the story about Sensei. We're at this we were given a demonstration, and we're at this race, and Armstrong was telling about the history of karate, and he was going on and on and on, and Sensei was getting antsy. He wanted to get it over with. So he looks at Mitchum and he says, Armstrongy, karate number 10, bullshitty number 1. So anyway, and in the old days, you know, they call this, people thought this was Ishendo karate because somebody painted a sign for Sensei and wrote on there. So I'd say, Sensei, this is Ishendo karate. No. He says, Ishinju. I said, oh, it's what it says. No, Ishinju. And I thought something's wrong here. You know, this is, but a lot of people still call it Ishendo karate instead of Ishinru because of that one sign. And I'm in that, of course, I'm in that picture as well. And that's Jake Eckenroe busted the tile. And if y'all were at the Hall of Fame thing, I was talking about how the Marines measured and measured. Well, Jake was one of the guys that measured and finally hit it with his elbow. Oh, thank you.
and who just hit it?
Yeah, instead of just hitting it right. And this is Tommy Tillman. He was one of my favorite students. He was he's really kind of funny. I mean, he was a good fighter. His katas were not. But anyway, there's a story about him going to Korea and going to take Taekwondo, but he embarrassed the Koreans so badly because he was a better fighter and had better kata than they did. They kicked him out of the dojo because of that.
Well, this was the yellow belt story.
And me fighting Joe Greenslade. If he hadn't moved that far back, I would have got him for sure. This is the one where they thought I was well, they said I was real picky at that test there. That's where the real picky thing happened.
All right.
Oh,
Huh?
When did you become real picky?
Oh, what a smart guy. When did I get real picky?
There was like in a locker room or something. The guy was afraid, right?
I just want people to do it right. That's all, you know, and if they're doing it wrong, I'll write down what they're doing wrong. I don't always have time to write down all the stuff they're doing right. And that's where I got promoted to 9th by Mitchum. And that cost Jerry about $3,700. And me, that's Sensei. And of course, people say, well, Sensei didn't let you wear anything but white, but there he is wearing a chicken top. That's what Vincula says, that Sensei wouldn't allow anything but white geese.
Sensei, happy birthday once again. I'm going to have to go, everyone.
Well, thanks for
Everyone.
listening in. I appreciate it.
Hopefully I'll see the recording, the full recording later on and hear all the stories.
Okay. Okay.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. You take care.
Take care.
And you know, when Mitchum saw this picture, he says, I need more hair. He was talking about himself. He needs more hair.
Trying to catch up with you.
Trying to catch up with me, right?
Yeah. He was a nice guy.
Yeah.
A nice guy.
And this was down at A&M where I had my student, Joe Greenslade and Johnny Lynch had 150 students.
is that the class where you had the photos of the women that you took to Okinawa and Master Shimobuku was amazed by that and had the veterinarian in the class too?
Say again?
Was that the class where they had the guy that was a veterinarian and you took the pictures to Okinawa and showed Master Shimobuku?
Yeah. I took these pictures to Okinawa, and since they saw a woman sitting in the front row, and he says, woman, you know, and he said Nason, which means little sister. And I said, yeah, this is a Longs Association. I was on the board of Longs Association. And anyway, and so Sensei, I said, yeah, Sensei, it's a Nason, you know, and he said, oh, Okinawa no have. He says, same samurai, nobody marry. So if you take karate in Okinawa, nobody's going to marry you.
That's just good.
Why is
That's
that?
just good self-defense.
Of course, half the people in this picture are on the line right now, so I think everybody recognizes there's I guess that's Mark Rudd right there, and then the guy in black there besides me, I don't know him.
Maybe it's one of Mark Rudd's students.
And I don't know what this is. This is
I wrote you, Sensei.
This is when I had 50 years in karate, and now I have 62.
Amazing.
I'm impressed somebody got the patch on the cake.
Yeah, isn't that something? They really did a good job on that. And I'm not sure when this was taken, but
That
That was at the 50th anniversary.
was that the 50th anniversary?
Yeah.
where they had the cake.
And these are some of my old students, like Tony Weeks, and these guys were in Mississippi.
Yeah, Bill Moore's next to him.
Well, yeah.
And then
Now,
Oh, sorry.
That was Heffernan. I was in California then and I was hanging out with Heffernan.
Guy on the far left, is that Bill Smith, Sensei?
Yeah.
One of Jerry's students.
Yeah.
That's the one that Lindy kicked in the groin 3 times.
Ooh,
Yeah, because she's a vincula student and a vincula tests you when you're doing Sanchi and kicks you in the groin. Well, she kicked Bill Smith in the groin first time and he was kind of shocked. Then she kicked him again in the groin and he said, that's the end of that. He wasn't going to stand for that anymore. And I told Lindy that we don't do that, while they're doing Sanchin.
Now you tell me.
This is Okama and Yuichi. Okama's dojo. Okama's a 10th degree black belt in Goju-Ryu. Nice guy. And this is where taken at Sensei's, where the location of Sensei's old dojo in Okinawa.
and that whole area there doesn't look anything at all like that anymore, Sensei. They've got a yakiniku restaurant over where the old dojo used to be now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, in
So
2010, they were
they
clearing it
filled-
out, so
filled-
it looked like they were going to fix up some stuff there.
Oh, and they sure
They,
did.
they
got a
finally
bank.
filled filled it in, huh?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And this is, of course, the patch where the patch was made originally, and it's still in business.
Yep.
And this Okinawan girl here, she was taking our picture before, and then we got her in the picture.
Y'all ought to come back to Okinawa.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Marty,
Will they let American tourists come to Okinawa right now, Andy?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so, right? Japan in general says no, right?
Right. Now, the Betts is microphone is muted there.
Tommy Teneman is the one in the black on the left. That was one of my students. He got third here. And then this big guy, Ed Middle, he had to spar Ed Daniels, and he was intimidated by Ed Daniels, and Tommy didn't fight him like he did everybody else.
The guy on the second from the right is Jim Buten.
Yeah.
He actually, believe it or not, guys, I've took my first 6 summer lessons from Jim Buten on a lawn out at General Dynamics Recreation Association in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
Then everything went away, and then I found Sensei.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Buten moved to Oklahoma City, and I think he's quite a fighter.
Sensei, you need to drink up.
Oh, is there some more in here? Oh, okay.
You
Trying to
got almost a full glass there.
get me stinko. That's what they call drunk in Okinawa, stinko.
I got a whole bottle here left.
Oh, great.
You gotta put
I
something
should have
in.
come over there.
Sensei used to drink a bottle that they call Mizuho, and it was about 170 proof. And the Marine there, this lieutenant called it a water hole because Mizu means water. So he called it water hole. Man, let's see. This was when I joined Armstrong's Association.
Go off for Sensei Karen, so it's better.
And this is the Brotherhood. They promoted me to Judan. And that's another
I believe you sent me that one, Sensei. I have that one, I think.
That was number 8 on that. That's a really nice picture of Sensei Wayne Whalen. Okay, well, this is in Mississippi. Almost these guys are from Mississippi. And the Betts are, well, I guess Marty. Oh, there's Marty. I started to say he took the picture, but he's in the picture.
Yeah, was that in, oh goodness, El Dorado, Arkansas?
Was it?
Was it? I don't know. Can you go back and look again?
Yeah, hold on.
That's the stamps I sent you, okay?
I'm not trying to go too fast.
Jesus,
Yeah, that one. Is that in El Dorado?
like who?
In El Dorado, Arkansas.
Could have been. Yeah, could have been. No, let's see. Well, there would be one guy missing if it was in El Dorado.
You know, Reese is not in there. Reese would have been there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and because I was there in El Dorado in 05, and so I didn't remember the other gentleman with the mustache there on the left, over from Sensei Johnson. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill, I don't remember seeing
that's
him.
over on the left, far left is Lin Young. He's fourth dan at this point. And he wants to come around and work out with us more often, but he lives in Denton.
Yeah, that's quite a drive. I'd like to get together with you more often too, Sensei, but I live in Okinawa, so.
Uh,
Oh, come on. What's holding you back?
I'll be
now,
right back.
Andy sent me all these stamps, these Okinawan stamps of all these karate people doing the different things. And there's nobody in Ishiru in the mix, but that's interesting that Okinawa can have all of that. This is a whole Kama's dojo again. And anyway, just the same old suspects.
That was an interesting, besides the dojo, he had that museum of martial arts weapons too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, his museum is really neat. It's upstairs. It's
He's got it reorganized up there now, Sensei.
Oh, yeah, he redid it?
Yeah, because some people were stealing some stuff out of there.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
not,
and yeah, so he put shelving in there with cases that he can lock.
that's a shame.
Yeah,
Sensei Johnson, have you gotten your shots yet?
I got the first one.
All right, so you're on your way. You're on your way.
The second one's supposed to month. So the VA is doing it. It was pretty easy because there was only, I think, 4 vehicles ahead of me. They did it while I was in my car. So it's pretty simple. They say the second one they're going to give will be the one that if I get real sore or anything, will be the second shot. But anyway, we'll see. And everybody knows that's Yuichi. And he and I have stayed in contact over the years, and we send each other Christmas and New Year's cards.
He's a nice guy.
Yes, he is. He really is. And this is Andy, of course, at the well where Sensei fell asleep and had the dream about the Mizugami or the Megami or the serpent lady, whatever you want to call her. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me what she's called. And of course, that's Shuri Castle, which is burned down since.
yeah.
But when you were there, you didn't have a lighter with you.
I didn't want.
You didn't have a lighter with you when you were there, right?
Yeah.
He's wondering whether you burned it down.
Oh, I know. I
It's
didn't
your
burn it
fault.
down. No, I have a blazing personality, but I didn't burn it down.
As somebody I know was there like a day before it burned down.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, they were doing some work or something, and
Yeah, right.
Caught on fire.
The work lamp tipped
Yeah.
over or something.
Yeah.
But somebody I know was there the day before it burned down, so we joked locally that she burnt it down so that nobody else could go there.
Oh, I see.
Well, that's similar to what happened then at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris a few years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was a giant disaster, huh?
Oh, yeah. Guess so.
Well, but again, I think that was construction work related.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's, of course, I don't, they're building it back, they say, but
Well,
you'll see how long it takes.
well, it's my opinion that, believe it or not, that the money to be raised to rebuild it is the easiest part. It's the wood to rebuild it and the artisans that need to be had on the project in order to rebuild it. That's going to be the difficult part. Because I read that the guy that was in charge of the construction project up in mainland, he was trying to get the wood from up in mainland Japan, but they wouldn't let him get the permits for it. So he actually got the wood from Taiwan. And now they believe that people are so worried about conservation of the environment and everything that they wouldn't be allowed to have that timber anymore. But they have to have like 24 big old huge logs that can support all the weight of the tiles and all that stuff. And then they said too that the number of artisans that they used previously is basically now cut in half because people have died and they just don't have the apprentices anymore that are doing all that stuff.
Sure. That's they just, people don't have the skills anymore because they did away with them.
Yeah.
You know?
It's burnt down like 3-4 times, right?
Well, at least once before. Of course, during the Second World War, it was bombed.
Right, that's 2, right?
Bombed to nothing, but
And now 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is that cave that took so long to get through.
Yeah, Gyokusindo and down in Itoman.
It was a pretty neat. Anybody know what kind of tree this is?
Yeah, it's called a Gajumaru.
What kind?
Gajumaru.
Well, I always thought that was a really interesting looking tree that
Is there an English version of that name?
I don't know. Probably.
Is it a banyan tree?
It's a banyan tree. That's right. I couldn't think of
It's
the
a
word.
banyan tree.
this is that one of the dojos. I got 3 floors in Naha.
That's the
And,
Budokan.
this is the judo, I think, judo dojo. They had, I guess they'd have tournaments and everything here, but there was 3 floors, and boy, wouldn't you love to have enough students to fill that up?
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Jeez. When you guys get tired of watching all of this, let me know. This guy was judging or was teaching, I guess, a couple of women doing naginata, and he showed us his swords. And you could see if there's fingerprints on the sword. So somebody had already touched the blade. And anyway, he was telling us all about his swords, and he looked us up. We didn't look him up, but I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, he's still there teaching as far as I know.
Uh-huh. And these rooms over there behind with the sliding doors, that's where people would, I guess, take it easy during between matches or whatever. But they had a place where you could, have a little party, I guess. And these looked like they were all a deer caught in the headlights there. This restaurant was pretty neat. We ate there. We invited a guy that was doing American, who was doing the Joe, to come up and join us, and he did. Is that I guess that was a banyan tree.
What it said.
They moved that statue, that Funakoshi monument. They moved it into the park.
Oh, they did.
That park
Right,
is-
that whole restaurant is gone, right?
yes, they tore that restaurant down in 2015.
Yeah, the restaurant's gone. That native Okinawan village was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah,
How they make that bush different colors?
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these houses in that Okinawan village had, you know, that's where I took those pictures of those cranes and everything. And there's Mary acting like she was cooking supper for us.
Oh, yeah.
There's Andy sliding up there, see if they had any marijuana stuck up in the top of that thing. And here's a giant, I guess that got to be a shark's mouth. What a shark, that sucker could swallow you whole without even touching you.
Yeah.
And there, I don't remember that where it was.
There's whale sharks up there.
Oh yeah, and this, of course, was
Is that Andy also?
No.
That's not Andy in the water.
In the water. No, that's somebody else. That's in a aquarium in Okinawa.
I thought maybe they put him in a wetsuit.
Yeah.
No, that's Jerry trying to kick a shark.
Yeah. There's Andy trying to hold up the world.
Yeah, hold up the world.
Yeah. Yeah, they have some, you know, the Okinawans, and of course, I guess the Japanese as well, have some really neat stuff. There's Andy, he's holding up that island right over there. That's where that reporter was killed over there. I forget his name, but he was real famous.
Ernie Pyle.
Ernie Pyle, yeah, that's where he was killed.
That's moments before Sensei Ronnie got his arm bitten off.
Ronnie. Now Ronnie sent that to his family, and they said they knew Okinawa was small, but they didn't think it was that small.
I told him you ought to have been on that jet plane when it took off too.
Yeah, there he is, out there doing Siunchin out there on a little island. This is a peace thing that where they had the names of all the Americans and all the Okinawans and Japanese who were killed in World War II on that island. Well, if y'all have been here from the first of this, you've seen all of these already.
Yep, we're just repeating.
Just repeating.
Is that where Pyle was killed? Or the mine?
That island where Andy had his hand out like that, that's where Pyle was killed.
Yeah, that's EA Island.
Yeah. I went there. They have a monument out there for Pyle.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Why was he killed?
It's a little weird. The description is I thought it a little strange. He was a very famous World War II Stars and Stripes reporter.
Uh-huh.
And this is where he died. And they say he was shot by a foreign rifle. Now, maybe that's just because the Okinawans and the Japanese don't want to say they killed him, but it's a weird way to describe it, right?
Yeah,
Shot by a foreign rifle. Not by a foreign soldier, but by a foreign rifle.
Yeah.
Oh.
That sound Japanese or Okinawan to you, Andy?
Well, like you say, that's them not wanting to fess up to it.
Right? What a strange description.
Yeah, I haven't been up there in about 10 years now, but yeah, that's right.
I went for a walk there. I'm like, oh, this doesn't look that far apart on a map. And it's like 100 degrees and we're walking 5 miles.
Yeah.
And, you know, luckily halfway in between, there was a soda machine in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
You know, one of these things where in America, that would have never happened. It like a soda machine in a cornfield.
Yep.
And, but we had a lot of fun that day.
Mm-hmm.
Sensei, who was that guy that you were kicking against?
What?
In that other picture that just went by, you jumped kicking in the air to that one.
Yeah, that was the guy's name was, what was the guy's name? I can't remember right now, but I was doing a jump sidekick.
Forrest Gump.
Anyway, it was Shinsho, Sensei's youngest, who was taking the picture. He was telling me, "We'll do this and do that," and so there's a lot of pictures that I had that he took of me breaking things, but I let my father have them, and my father died, and then my half sister would never turn loose of them, and so I never got them back. Now she's dead, and I don't know what happened to the pictures, but there was more pictures than that. But Shinsho would say, "Do it this way." He says he had me climb the wall, and he said, "Now jump away from the wall and put your hands out." He said, "It makes it look like you can jump 8 foot tall." He says that's what the Japanese do. He said they don't really jump that high. He said they fake it. So I said, okay. So Heffernan's got a picture of me at that doing that, and he says, "Heck, I thought you really could jump that high." And I said, "No."
But did he take from Master Shimabuku also?
Heffernan, yeah.
The
The first tour in Okinawa, he didn't. He was really more interested in chasing the women and drinking. But after I did a jump kick on him in Taiwan, he decided maybe karate was something he should take. And this guy right here behind, the Indian, that was one of my best friends. His name was, what was his name? Anyway, his last name was Menzie, Dick Menzie. And he was a Lakota Sioux. Anyway, so I lived with him for a while.
So Sensei, I think Andy was asking the guy that you were kicking.
Yeah, the guy in that photo where you doing the jump side, that guy that was in the.
Did he train with Master Shimabuku?
Oh, the guy that I was doing the jump kick with?
That's awesome.
He didn't. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
y'all now hold that up, Sensei, so they can see.
Yeah.
You see, he's got him a piece of cake there, and I know y'all can't join in because this will be weird. The sound will be weird, but I'm going to sing for us. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Sensei Johnson. Happy birthday to you. There
And
we
many
go.
more.
Put out. We would have put 80 candles on there, but it wouldn't have fit on the one piece of cake.
No,
there.
that's true.
Fire marshal was
extinguisher.
ejected citizen.
No, the guy, I was trying to think of the guy's name who was in that picture. And I could have thought it, I could have remembered it any other time, but not when I need to.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, it'll come to me when I don't need it.
But did you train with Master Shimabuku?
No, he didn't.
Oh.
What was he doing there?
Well, he was just a friend of mine. He was, I don't know, I don't remember what outfit he was with, whether he was in tanks or whether he was a brig guard or what, but we were friendly, and that's Bill Menzie. That's Dick Menzie's brother. Right there, he's, as you can tell, he's Sioux as well. He was a wild guy. He really was. Anyway, most of these, I started off, I didn't know about riding saddle bronc. And I, over the years, by the fourth year, I got to where I could stay on most of them. The first 3 years, I was bucking off over their head. I was doing all kinds of acrobatics in the air, and the horses were walking on me part of the time. They were riding me, and I would ride them every once in a while. But anyway, that horse right there, if I'd had that I was just mounting that horse just for fun. If I'd have had it for real, I would have won the rodeo on that horse.
Sensei, would you like a cup of coffee or a cup of tea?
Cup of coffee would be nice. Thank you.
You want black?
With a little sugar and a little bit of cream.
I can do that. No problem.
All right. Master Johnson, how did you come to start doing karate?
How did I start doing karate? Well, I went to Okinawa. Well, I was in the Marine in Camp Pendleton in California, and I never was satisfied because I figured the Marine Corps is going to teach me how to take care of myself. But I didn't have the confidence because they didn't show me enough to, if a person grabs you this way, then do this. They showed us about 3 things, and then the rest of it, I knew I couldn't get on the street and fight somebody and win. And so I heard about judo, and so there was one guy had taken a little bit of judo, and he showed me everything he knew, which was almost nothing. And so I was talking to I was in headquarters platoon, and which meant all the people who worked in the office were in my can send you to Okinawa and you can learn judo over there. So I said, that's great. So I put in for Okinawa and they sent me to Okinawa, and I got there, and my first liberty, I went out with a friend of mine. Thank you. And then the next liberty, I went down to the gym and I said, is there any place I can take judo around here? And they said, no, but we'll give you free karate lessons if you'll go down to this little village in Okinawa. Well, I heard the word karate one time before. So anyway, I went down, I got a cab, went down to this little village, and I walked in the dojo, and everybody in there had these little bitty short pajamas on, and they were all doing katas in different directions. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's this about? And Sensei was sitting on my left, and he says, new boy? And I said, I guess so. He said, where you stay? And I said, Camp Hansen. He thought, Hansen. He says, oh, Ken. He wrote Ken on my card. And he says, so-and-so, new boy, you teachy. And so that's how I started Ishinryu. It was kind of a fluke, and I went there to learn judo, wound up taking karate. And later I found a guy who was also going there to take judo, and he took judo, but he was at a different base than I was, and they probably had a judo instructor close by. But the Marine Corps paid for it, so I took it, and the rest of it is,
history.
What was great about at one point when they made me a brig guard, I got to go to the dojo. And for 5 months, I went to just a lot of times just be me and Sensei there. And so I got private instruction from Sensei. And if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have been the rank that I am now. But
what do you got to say about when the last sword was drawn?
When the last sword is drawn, well, for me, that's one of the best. That's probably the best samurai movie I've ever seen. It won 10 Japanese Academy Awards, so it had to be pretty good. On this horse, I had way too much rein. There was one guy that was always trying to sabotage my rides. I don't know why he didn't like me, but he told me, take more rein because the horse throws his head way down. Well, the horse didn't. He held his head up, and I had way too much rein on that horse. So I rode the horse, but I was in terrible shape. Anyway, so I wouldn't have won anything on that horse. That was at the finals, rodeo finals that year. Anyway.
Where was this at?
Huh?
Where were you at when you were in the rodeo here?
Where was I in this picture taken?
Yes.
I don't know which town I was in, but it was in Texas. I belong to a Central Rodeo Association. And so you got points just like in regular rodeo for the amount of horses you want on. And at the end of the year, they added it all up, and that was the yearly winner. Now there's a picture of this guy getting a saddle and a belt buckle, and he was that Indian that I was telling you about that I lived with, and he was raised on a ranch, so he had more experience than I did, and he won the rodeo or the buckle and the saddle that year. Not that I needed a saddle because I didn't have a horse. This one, see, this Bill Menzie on the left, and he was the one that won the saddle and the belt buckle for the year. And I lived with him and his brother, and then later his brother and I moved out and got an apartment together, and we were still riding rodeos. His brother was a bull rider, and I was a saddle bronc rider. So and the guy in the middle was he was a saddle bronc rider of the year for a rookie in RCA, but he would have had to gone full force into the professional ranks if he stayed in the RCA. But he decided he'd rather ride the local rodeos instead of traveling. So his name was Royce Rogers. And the guy on the right was a stock contractor. So anyway, like that means a lot to you, but that was what it was.
Sensei Levitz, when you come down to visit, Sensei Levitz, when you come to Texas, we'll get you on a bronc, okay?
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm, and I
don't think you'd like it too much.
Yeah, but Mr. Miller and Mr. Borland and all those guys up there would love to see Mr. Levitz on a horse.
I grew up on a farm, and I wrestled a couple cows to the ground.
There you go.
There was a story, too much Taito.
Yeah. Too much Taito. Let's see. I don't.
It's an avicula related story.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, we were. Avicula went to all the dojos and he in the area in Okinawa, and he would come in and tell us what the Goju people were doing and what the Shorin people were doing, and he said all the other dojos they twist punch like this, and he said we don't do that. Why is it we put our thumb on the top and they don't, and they twist? And so we three of us were there, and it was raining. It was during the monsoon. And so we went and asked Sensei. We couldn't work out anyway. So we said, Sensei, how come, the differences? And Sensei said, oh, he made a regular this way. He pointed to his wrist. He said, no guna. And I looked at the other two, and anybody knows what guna means? No, they didn't. And I said, well, and then he says, this way with the thumb on the top. He said, this away, he says, too much guna. And still we didn't know what he's talking about. And then he says in English, this away, no taito. This away, too much taito. When the thumb tightens down, it tightens your wrist more so it doesn't give when you hit. So that was the deal. And so that's what Sensei told us, the differences in the fist and why it was superior. So anyway, that was that story.
You told a Sun Tzu story about when you were in the brig guard and the monkey house.
Yeah. Well, since I was a brig guard, and I didn't know that Sensei knew I was a brig guard. But apparently one of the other guys who was a sergeant who was on a different shift at the brig, he told Sensei I was a brig guard. And so I was in there one day, and just me and Sensei, and he says, Johnson, you monkey house boy? And I said, I guess so, Sensei. Yeah, I guess I'm a monkey house boy. but that's what, I guess they figured the brig, that was what it was, the monkeys behind the bars. So anyway, I was a monkey house boy.
And you've been fighting with monkeys ever since.
Well, first in India, I did. I had a big fight with monkeys, and that was kind of a lot of people like that story, and a lot of kids said that was the best story they ever heard. You know,
I'm not a kid, and I like that story.
Yeah, I always like the monkey fighting story.
Well, if you saw that monkey that girl was squatting down there, that was the size of those monkeys. They weren't real small, but you know, they weren't like gorillas or anything, but yeah, I'd heard those stories, people getting bitten by them, you know, and have to get all these tetanus shots and stuff. And I sure didn't want to get bitten by one of those monkeys.
How about this story? Nobody home, nobody stay.
Yeah, Sensei would point to somebody in the dojo, and he'd be talking to some other Marine. He'd say, "Oh, so and so." He'd point to his head. He said, "Nobody stay." I guess that means like nobody home. Yeah. Anyway, now I know all of you guys have heard all these stories before, and you're probably just bored sick.
Oh, not even a little bit.
Anyway, well, have y'all had enough, or what? How do you feel? Anybody?
Well, if we don't let you go, Sensei, you're not going to eat.
Well, that's true.
Well, Courtney, you got a question for Sensei or anything?
I would say how did you and my sensei meet? How did you and Andy meet?
See if he remembers.
Andy, first time I noticed Andy, I was a head referee on his Shodan test when he was sparring. And that's when I first remember seeing Andy for the first time, or paying attention to him. And Andy was getting beat up by this guy named Bob. And I don't remember Bob's last name, but I think he was from Mississippi or Alabama or someplace.
That was Bob Stovall, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a big guy. And Andy, he was beating Andy. Andy's face was all red. And I took Andy aside and I said, "Hit him back. Don't make him respect you. Don't just take a beating from him." And Andy said, "Well, I'm afraid he'll hit me harder." And I said, "Oh, geez." So that's how I met Andy. And then Andy, he was not living that far from me, and I was living in Dallas at the time. And Andy came over and started taking from me. But
you don't remember before that?
Andy.
You don't remember before that, Sensei? In April of that year, whenever you were over there at Harvey's tournament, and you had the big group of people there, and nobody was asking you any questions except for me.
Well, that's true. You were the only one that's true. You were the only one asking questions.
Yeah, that was about 7 months before the other story you just told. Yeah, that was really not the first time that I
thought, geez, I said, the rest of them didn't. I said, "You got any questions?" And nobody said anything but Andy. Andy started asking me questions.
So what were your questions about?
Oh, about Okinawan karate and stuff like that, which is
Master Shimabuku.
And Shimabuku. Then people asked me, what was Shimabuku like, you know? And I said, well, he was really a nice guy, but you know, you got to take into account that he was getting paid $250 by the Marine Corps, and Blonde, who lived right down the street from Sensei, paid $5 a month for a house. So $250 is a lot of money in those days. And you can get a haircut at the base for 25 cents. And in town, it costs 35 cents. Well, you know, what a big deal, you know, but anyway, everything was a lot cheaper. And of course, they give us $50 more a month because we were overseas. So it was great. We got $50 more a month and everything was cheaper, you know? And then I was learning something about how to defend myself. So it was just happiness all around.
Oh yeah, they had the yen rate fixed in those days at 360 yen per dollar.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was 360 yen to a dollar. Yeah. And well, that didn't last forever.
Oh,
Hey, I got a question. Who has all these photos? Saw a couple in there I'd like to have.
Well,
You can see me, Larry.
Yeah.
John? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some in there where Greg Spencer and I got our black belts. There was a picture of both of us that day when, what was it? December 21st, 1975. I'm standing there and I think Sensei's handing Greg his belt or something.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. I used to make all my students run 5 miles in 40 minutes or less to qualify for black belt. That is, since I got all these older students now, I don't make them do that, but the younger ones still have to. So I know Marty makes them do that still with his students. And I like that because it makes it, when you get a black belt after you've done all of this, you really feel like you've done something, you know. But, you know, of course, if they can't do it, then you have to make a judgment. But if they can, I think they should. And then, of course, and then do all the katas and the sparring and Kerbin. Now, when Roy Kerbin had his first black belt test, he made him go through everything, every stance, every kick, every block that they ever learned. And then for sparring, they have to do 1-on-1 twice, 2-on-1 twice, 3-on-1, 4-on-1, and 5-on-1. Well, I said, Roy, what's this about? He said, what do you mean? I said, you didn't go through a test like this. You're going to make them move 5-on-1. I said, there's no way 5 people can hit on you at one time. What happened was one guy would hold the guy up while the other 4 beat on him. And I said, this is just ridiculous. You know, you're trying to show how tough your student. That it doesn't prove anything. So anyway, when Roy had a Korean instructor, the Korean instructor said, you don't have to do all of this. When I told him, he just kind of went in one ear and out the other. But when the Korean said that's too much, then he changed and didn't make it such a big deal. 5-on-1. Anyway. So any questions?
Roy was the sack boy, right?
The what?
The sack boy at the store.
I don't
He was
know. Sack boy.
He was the guy who packed the groceries.
Oh yeah, that was Roy Kerbin. Yeah, he. That's when he carried the groceries out to the car and he put them in the back seat and he saw a deed in there and he says, "Oh, somebody, where you take karate?" And I said, "Well, I teach." And so that's how Roy Kerbin started with me. He made green belt before I started. Pat Burleson offered me a job teaching full time, and I taught his dojo while he didn't show up very often. He showed up maybe once every 2 weeks.
But he's incredibly famous for early Texas commercial martial arts school.
Right.
Pat.
Right. He did well, but he spent a lot of money too.
He was one of the early people who formalized martial arts as a commercial business.
Yeah, he would get these study like these courses, how to win friends and to influence people and
right.
How to be a better salesman, and he went through all of that. Recently, I talked to him, and he said, if you hadn't gone and talked for Pat Burleson, I'd have still been with you. And I thought, well, that's nice, but maybe depending on how you look at it. But in other words, I guess he felt like that he could have stayed with me, and regardless of what I did, except that I taught Taekwondo for about 6 months.
Seems like if he really was interested, he would have come back to you after you quit for Pat Burleson.
Well, I say that again.
I said it seemed like if he was really interested in what you were doing and what you had to teach, that he would have just come back to you after you had quit teaching
Well,
for Pat Burleson.
and I would see him, in his kicks when he was taking from me. And so when I was teaching Taekwondo, he would come over and he would say, "Sensei, look at my kicks." I'd say, "Oh, they're getting better, Roy." So over the years, he worked on him, and he got to where he had some tremendous kicks. He could he liked to fight right foot forward, and you'd be standing like this, he could slip that side kick in between your elbow and your side, and then turn his hip into it and take you to the ground with it. He got really good with those, especially his right foot. He wasn't quite as confident with his left foot. And when his left foot, he would slide his foot in about 6 inches before he threw it. And you always knew when it was coming. So I never did tell him that, by the way. So when I sparred him, I didn't want him to know that I knew, that when he was going to kick me.
Sensei, can you tell your Hall of Fame story?
Which one? Oh, the one that the little talk.
Your speech. Yeah.
You would like to hear that? Have you heard it before?
I've heard it before, but I don't know if Mr. Rawls has heard it before.
Oh,
no, I haven't. I'd love to hear it.
You see, Mr. Rawls is new audience, fresh blood.
Okay. When I was 3 years old, my grandmother took me out in the backyard, and she turned it upside down and put the head in her fist. And I, at 3 years old, I thought, that's peculiar, upside down, why? And anyway, she took and swung that chicken around over her head like she was going to rope something. And then she kind of threw it like this, and the head separated from the bottom of the body of the chicken, and the body fell down in a cloud of dust. And the chicken, the body got up and started running, and it ran and fell down, and it got up and ran into something and fell down. And all this time, blood squirting about 3 inches out of the top of this body. And it started running towards me, and it kind of scared me, and I jumped up away from it. Well, in 1960 in Okinawa, my sensei, Tatsuo Shirabuku, promoted me to Shodan. Now, I'd been to a lot of demonstrations, but I never had broken anything. And so I decided that I wanted to see what I could do on tile and brick. So I hired a taxi, and we went to a mom and pop place that made tile and brick. And I bought tile and brick, and I went back to the dojo, and I was unloading them. And so I put 2 brick down, and I put a brick on top, and I did a shuto, and I broke the brick. And Sensei says, next time, make a fist like this. And if you can see, and he says, he said this way, it gives you more cushion. So I put 2 bricks on top, and I did that, and I hit, and I broke the 2 bricks. And Sensei said, Johnson can do 2. And I said, hi, Sensei. And he says, which hi means yes. And he said, next time, he said, we demonstration go, you breaky 2. And I said, okay, Sensei. He said, all the time, chop, 15 minutes every day in 2 years, chop the neck off a bottle, chop head off a chicken. And my mind went back to that 3-year-old in my grandmother's backyard. And I wondered, if I gave a demonstration and I chopped the head off a chicken, and the body of the chicken ran around and fell down and got up and ran into things and fell down, and blood all this time was squirting down the top of that body of that chicken, and probably getting on the clothes of all those people, how many students would I get out of it? And if I did get any students,
Wow.
would I want them?
Yeah.
So anyway, I said my students never went to the chicken test.
Oh,
They,
And Andy, whoever edits this video, take this part out. So I'm Master Shimabuku's student who teaches Shorin-ryu. Has a Shorin-ryu dojo. They have a little association. What's it called?
are you talking about Shigema and Kaneshi and those guys when they broke away and they had their own school?
They still have their own school now.
Yeah, that's a Nagamine Kojun, is it?
Nagamine. So we went to their friend who has a bar. Who's their friend who has a bar? Kochin?
Well, I think they called him Ko-chan, but Chan is
Ko-chan.
more like it's
Yeah.
not really something that's part of his name. That's like a,
Right. So Ko-chan's,
yeah.
I'm at his bar and he's telling stories about doing a demo on a beach, cutting the head off a chicken.
Oh, geez.
So this head off a chicken, what used to be apparently an Okinawan demo, but please take this part out of the video. Historians, please take this part out of the video. Promise?
Well, I'm not recording it, so.
so anyway, so I said, now my students never went to the chicken test. So I don't know in a pinch whether they would face the chicken or jump up on the stump. So I said, my students, I said, I think my students are the best in the world, but then probably all senseis think their students are the best in the world. And I said, one even came over from Okinawa for this event. And I said, but for all of that, they still don't listen. And that's why I'm here tonight, because they don't listen to me.
Well, it was Dave Joslin who got the ball rolling.
Huh?
It was Dave Joslin who got the ball rolling.
I said, I didn't understand that.
So it was Dave Jocelyn who got the ball rolling,
Had the what on me?
got the ball rolling on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he wanted us to nominate you, but I told him that you didn't want to do that anymore, but he really felt like you deserved to be in, and of course we did too.
Yeah, Dave Johnson, the year before, tried to get me in the Hall of Fame, and he was unsuccessful. And well, they've been trying to get me in the Hall of Fame for years. And I told him, if you keep trying to do this, I'm not gonna have anything else to do with you. You know, I just let it go. I don't need to be in the Hall of Fame. And then nobody listens to me. And so they did. They got me in the Hall of Fame.
And by the way, we invited Dave Joslin for this meeting, but I guess he couldn't make it.
You know what they say, never join any club that would want you as a member.
Well, so anyway, that's my speech. And afterwards, people came up and said that was the best speech in 40 years. So I was happy. And of course, I got a lot of laughs. But anyway, I was happy with it, and I guess everybody else was too. It took 8 minutes. They wanted me to do it in 5, but everybody else wanted to do about an hour and a half on their speeches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, we're going to be getting Sensei some dinner since we've already poured some sake down him. And so we're going to wrap this up if we can. So how about last wishes for happy birthday, sir? And thank y'all for attending.
Thank y'all. Happy birthday, Sensei.
Happy
Nice to
birthday.
meet you guys.
Happy birthday, Sensei.
I'll
birthday,
challenge you
Sensei.
pretty soon.
Anyway, I
Andy.
appreciate it. Thank you for participating in this.
Sure. Have a good evening.
It's nice to meet you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Andy, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.